Have you ever found yourself wondering what it truly takes to make it in professional soccer, especially over in Europe? Or maybe you know someone with that burning dream, a young player just dedicating everything they have, hoping for that big break. Today we're doing a unique and, well, incredibly detailed deep dive into a roadmap. It's specifically designed for aspiring professional soccer players. And we're really zeroing in on that pivotal 18 to 25 age range, what you often hear called the hot signing range in the industry. Our mission today is to basically unpack a comprehensive step-by-step blueprint. This isn't just some vague guide. It's more like a strategic plan, really engineered to help players land a professional contract over in Europe. And all the insights, the fascinating details, the practical steps we're about to share, they come directly from this comprehensive guide called Blueprint to Pro Soccer in Europe by 2026. It's put together by Jugador Pro, who are a pretty renowned professional sports marketing agency. So get ready for some, I think, surprising facts and practical steps that go way beyond just having raw talent on the pitch.
Yeah, and what's truly remarkable about this particular blueprint, I find, is its sheer level of prescription and detail. It moves way beyond that often repeated advice of, oh, just play well, Instead, it lays out this really precise strategic planning framework. And that's absolutely crucial for players trying to navigate this critical age bracket. So whether you're listening as an aspiring player yourself, maybe a dedicated coach, a supportive parent, or even if you're just curious about the intricate world of elite sports, like how these top-tier dreams are actually chased, understanding this rigorous process offers immense insight into the dedication, the meticulous planning, and, frankly, the sheer number of strategic opportunities that have to be pursued. It's really a true strategic approach to making a dream feel like a tangible reality.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit then and look at the big picture. What's laid out in our information from Jugador Pro? The ultimate goal, and it's very clearly defined, for players following this blueprint is, and I'm quoting here, to sign a professional contract with a European club, ideally in a competitive first, second, or third division by mid-2026. Now, what's striking to me about this specific time frame, this 24-month window for players between 18 and 25, is just how pivotal it seems. It's almost as if this is the point where raw potential really has to solidify into peak physical development. I imagine clubs are actively looking for talent in this age range that can make an immediate impact or, at the very least, develop rapidly into a future star, wouldn't you say? It really feels like a make-or-break period for so many young players.
Absolutely. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this 18-25 age group is, well, it's often seen as having that perfect balance. You've got the physical maturity, definitely. The mental resilience is starting to build. But crucially, there are still a few years left for significant development. And beyond just the obvious physical peak, the real insight here for clubs, I think, is that blend of maturity with still present untapped potential.
Yeah.
Think about it. A 16-year-old is often a long-term gamble, right? Requires years of investment, development.
A lot of patience.
Exactly. Whereas a 24-year-old, while maybe at their peak physically, is often seen as more of a finished product. There's maybe less room for significant growth or adaptation to a totally new system. So this 18 to 25 range offers that sweet spot. You can still significantly shape a player's tactical understanding, their mental game, make them adaptable to different club philosophies. And importantly, they usually have a strong resale value for future transfers too.
The business side, always a factor.
Always. It's about acquiring a high-performance asset with significant upside. That's a key driver for top European clubs. And this leads to an important question. Based on the blueprint's goal, why is aiming for that first, second, or third division so heavily emphasized? Why not just any professional contract?
That's a really good question. What's the actual practical difference for a player in that situation?
Well, it boils down to genuine, sustainable professional pathways. It's about the trajectory. Those top 3 tiers represent escalating levels of exposure, far better resources, coaching, facilities, medical support, and much clearer established routes to top-tier football. Look, a contract in a 5th or 6th division might technically be professional in some countries.
Right, you get paid something.
You get paid something, exactly. It often lacks the infrastructure, the scouting presence is minimal, and the competitive environment just isn't there to truly launch a career towards the elite level. So this blueprint focuses squarely on divisions where there's real movement, established club networks, genuine opportunity for upward mobility. It's strategic. It's about getting into the right ecosystem from the start, or at least aiming for it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So with that big picture clear, let's dive into where this incredibly detailed journey actually begins for an aspiring pro. This blueprint from Jugador Pro insists it starts with a deep, objective look inward. Phase 1, they call it laying the foundation, or more specifically, a comprehensive player audit. And this isn't, just a casual self-assessment or a friendly kickabout after training. It's almost like a professional business audit, but for an individual player. And it's designed to happen right now, essentially through September 2025. This deep dive into where a player currently stands breaks down to several key components. Each one is crucial for painting that complete picture, the strengths, the weaknesses, everything. So first up, there's the technical evaluation. This dives into all those position-specific skills. For a striker, it's not just can they score, it's like how's their finishing under pressure, their ability to hold up the ball for teammates, their movement off the ball to create space, even their aerial ability in the box. It gets really granular.
Super specific.
Exactly. And for a defender, it's looking at their tackling technique. They're heading both for clearances and attacking set pieces their passing range, maybe to initiate attacks from the back. Their disciplined defensive positioning, how they handle those crucial one-on-one duels. It's really about identifying exactly what kind of player you are technically right at this moment and figuring out where those technical edges can be sharpened. Then we move to the physical assessment. This measures those core athletic attributes, speed, endurance, strength, agility. And these aren't just subjective observations like, oh, he looks quick. No, these are quantifiable metrics that are crucial for the modern game.
Data points.
Precisely. Think sprint times for burst speed, maybe EO2 max tests, which measure your maximum oxygen consumption, and directly relate to endurance over a full 90 minutes. Vertical leap tests for aerial duels, agility drills like cone drills, for quick changes of direction. Modern football demands incredible athleticism, right? And scouts look at these numbers just as much as what they see with the ball. Third is tactical understanding. This is all about decision-making and positioning on the pitch. This is often what people call the football IQ element. Does the player understand the flow of the game? Can they read situations, anticipate plays? And crucially, can they make the right decision under pressure? Like knowing exactly when to press the opponent or when to drop back and maintain the team's shape, or maybe how to exploit a specific defender's weakness.
Reading the game. It's huge.
Absolutely. And finally, there's the mental profile. This assesses things like discipline, consistency, and that overall football intelligence we mentioned. This really highlights how profoundly important the mental game is. It's not just about what you can do with your feet, but how you think, how you behave, how you handle the inevitable pressure, both on and off the pitch. Are you consistent in your effort day in, day out? Do you have the mental fortitude to bounce back from mistakes or setbacks? Or to keep pushing even when things get really tough?
Resilience is key.
Totally. And for someone in that 18-25 age range, this whole audit process is about identifying those gaps and strengths now before time really starts to run out on their peak development window. It's about knowing exactly where you stand so you can build a precise targeted development plan moving forward.
And a really crucial element here that follows right on from that audit is the blueprint's emphasis on creating a professional player identity. This is part of that foundational phase, too. This isn't just about, I play midfield. It's about how you embody that position, defining your unique style. For clubs and agents, this is critical for marketing yourself effectively. Are you, say, a modern center back, one who's comfortable on the ball, can distribute accurately, maybe even step into midfield?
Right, like the ball-playing defenders we see more and more.
Exactly. Or are you maybe a high-press winger, constantly harassing defenders, making aggressive runs, driving into the box? Or perhaps you see yourself as a two-way #8, someone who excels at both defensive duties and contributing significantly to the attack. Think box to box. This clear self-definition makes you immediately identifiable and, crucially, highly marketable to clubs who are searching for very specific player profiles to fit their system. And going hand in hand with defining that identity is building a robust digital profile. This is presented as an absolute cornerstone. The blueprint is really clear on this. It must include, first, a concise highlight reel, ideally just 2-4 minutes long.
That's short. Wow.
Yeah, brevity and impact are key. You've got to remember, scouts are incredibly busy people. They might only give your video a minute or two of their time initially, so it needs to be captivating, showcase your absolute best moments, but also try to show a versatile range of skills if possible. Not just goals, for example, but beyond just the flashy highlights, you need full match footage. The blueprint recommends a minimum of 2 complete 90-minute games.
Why the full games?
Because that's critical for demonstrating consistency, not just those isolated flashes of brilliance you put in a highlight reel. Highlight reel might make you look like, the next superstar in certain moments.
We've all seen those compilations.
Exactly. But the full match footage reveals your actual work rate over 90 minutes, your decision-making under sustained pressure, how you react to different game situations, your positioning, basically how you perform over an entire game. And finally, part of that digital profile is a detailed profile sheet. Simple stuff, but essential. Your age, height, weight, dominant foot, primary and secondary positions, maybe some key stats if you have them verified. This is like the quick reference card, almost like a professional resume or CV, that an agent or scout can immediately glance at to see if you fit their initial criteria. Now, this whole process, the audit, the identity, the profile, it all feeds into goal setting. But this raises an important question, though, for players at this stage. Why is goal setting so vital in this specific process? Host, what do you think is the risk if they don't have these clear targets laid out?
Well, I'd imagine without clear goals, it's just really easy to get sidetracked, right? Or lose motivation, maybe. Or simply not even know if you're making any real progress towards that big European dream. It could feel like you're just sort of drifting, maybe just hoping something good happens eventually.
Precisely. Yeah, drifting is a good word for it. The blueprint from Jugador Pro directly combats that risk by rigorously applying the SMART goals framework. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For instance, the specific overarching goal is clearly stated: sign a professional contract in Europe by June 2026. That's the big one. But then, crucially, that's broken down into measurable, achievable, monthly, or quarterly targets. Things like aiming for a certain number of games played at a high level, hitting specific performance metrics in training or matches, or maybe attending a set number of verified trials. This kind of structured approach really helps prevent burnout, I think, by providing those clear, tangible milestones along the way. And it keeps the entire journey focused and actionable. It gives you something concrete to aim for each week, each month. For players in that 18-25 range who are often balancing, current playing commitments, maybe studies or part-time work, with these huge future aspirations, having this clear step-by-step roadmap is invaluable for maintaining motivation, direction, and also accountability. It transforms it from just dreaming into strategic planning with precise, actionable steps.
Okay, so you've done the deep self-assessment, you've defined your identity, you've got your digital profile ready, and your SMART goals are set. That foundation is laid. The next logical step in this blueprint, then, is moving from that planning stage into active development and, crucially, getting exposure. This takes us into what Jugador Pro labels the critical elite development and exposure phase. And this runs roughly from October 2025 through to March 2026. This is really where, as they say, the rubber meets the road. The blueprint highlights the absolute importance of joining a competitive training environment. And the emphasis here is on competitive. This isn't just about training harder on your own. It's about training smarter and, crucially, training in the right place to actually be seen.
Right, visibility is key.
Exactly. Simply playing locally, even at a decent level, might not be enough to bridge that gap to Europe. So joining a dedicated development program, maybe a professional club's academy or B team, or even a high-level semi-pro club in Europe, is presented as pretty much a fundamental step. You need to be there. And our information outlines several potential European options, providing the strategic thinking behind each one is quite specific. For example, Spain specifically, regions like Catalonia, Valencia, or the Madrid area are highly preferred options according to the blueprint. Now, why these regions specifically? It's not just random, is it?
No, not at all. These are literal hotbeds of talent development.
Right. They have incredibly dense footballing cultures, vast networks of clubs from the absolute grassroots all the way up to the elite La Liga level. And crucially, they have well-established, well-oiled pathways that actively funnel promising young players from academies into senior professional football.
Like a conveyor belt, almost.
Yeah, exactly. A well-oiled machine for player development and scouting. It makes them highly efficient environments for finding and nurturing talent and therefore getting opportunities. Okay, then there's Portugal. The blueprint suggests maybe aiming for clubs in Liga 3 or even the fourth tier there. What's the thinking behind that? Slightly lower level.
Well, it seems to suggest a slightly lower barrier to entry compared to, say, the very top Spanish youth leagues or lower divisions. But it's still within a legitimate professional or semi-professional structure. For many players in our target 18-25 age group, it could serve as a really realistic and crucial first step into the European system, a place to adapt and prove yourself.
Makes sense. Then Croatia or Austria are also pitched, specifically for a quicker professional exposure. Now, That's intriguing. Why might those countries offer faster routes for an 18-25-year-old?
That's a good question. It could be due to a few factors. Maybe slightly less intense competition for roster spots compared to the absolute biggest leagues like Spain, Germany, or England. Or perhaps it's specific league structures in those countries that maybe allow younger players or players new to the system to break into senior teams and gain consistent senior level minutes more readily.
Getting game time is crucial at that age.
Absolutely paramount for development, yeah. Consistent minutes against seasoned professionals is invaluable.
Okay. And finally, Poland or Hungary are mentioned. The rationale given is a lower entry barrier with more professional club demand.
Mm.
What does that suggest to you?
Well, it suggests potential opportunities for players who might not immediately be ready for or get offers from a top-tier academy or a super competitive league in Western Europe. These might be developing footballing landscapes where clubs are actively seeking talent, perhaps from abroad, to strengthen their squads, maybe offering more accessible routes into a professional setup.
So lots of different potential pathways, tailored maybe to different player levels or circumstances.
Exactly. But the key thread connecting all these options, according to the blueprint, is the absolute imperative to get into a system where you can train daily at a high level, compete regularly in meaningful games, and most importantly, be seen by scouts and agents within a genuine professional or high-level semi-pro framework. You have to be in the shop window, so to speak.
Right. And being in that environment leads directly to the next part of this phase, the actual daily grind.
Yes, and this section really highlights the demanding reality, the sheer commitment involved in pursuing professional football at this level. It really begs that important question. What does true dedication actually look like day to day for a player in this critical 1825 development window? The blueprint from Jugador Pro lays out a very specific daily training plan, basically, a player routine that is truly 24/7. It's not just turn up, train, go home. In the morning, it typically involves dedicated time for intense individual technical refinement. We're talking 1 to 1.5 hours just focused on those thousands of touches, those precise movements that separate the good players from the great ones. Things like specific dribbling patterns, passing drills for range and accuracy, shooting techniques, maybe small-sided possession games to work on technique under pressure.
So really honing the fundamentals.
Constantly. And coupled with that technical work, there's consistent gym work. The blueprint suggests 2-3 times a week. And this isn't just about bulking up. It's focused on functional strength, power, explosiveness, and crucially, building resilience against the demanding physical toll of the modern game, and maybe most importantly, preventing injuries.
Injury prevention seems key.
Absolutely vital. This highlights that dual focus. You've got to hone your craft and build the physical robustness needed to perform consistently and stay healthy. Then, in the afternoon, the focus typically shifts. You've got tactical drills, working on team shape, patterns of play, set pieces, and then full team training, integrating the player into the collective unit, the coach's system. And critically, the blueprint includes film study. This could be match analysis of their own performance, watching back games to identify areas for growth, mistakes to correct, or it could be detailed study of top professional players in their position, looking at their habits, their movement, their decision-making.
Learning from the best.
Exactly. It emphasizes the importance of tactical understanding and learning from the elite players. It's not just about playing, it's about thinking the game at a much deeper, more cerebral level. And the evenings, they're equally dedicated. Time for proper stretching, foam rolling to aid recovery, meticulous attention to hydration, and adhering to a strict nutrition protocol. It reinforces that message. This isn't just about what you do on the pitch for a few hours, it's about living the lifestyle of an elite athlete every single hour of every single day.
That sounds incredibly demanding. A true 24/7 commitment. And while the blueprint clearly emphasizes its importance, I can't help but think, for a young player, maybe 18, 19, perhaps leaving home for the first time, moving to a foreign country, dealing with that intensity, what are some of the common mental or emotional pitfalls they might face? Does Jugador Pro's blueprint touch on maintaining resilience beyond just the physical side?
That's a really crucial point, and you're right to raise it. While the blueprint doesn't explicitly detail, say, specific mental health protocols or psychological support structures, the intense emphasis it places on discipline, on consistency, and on having those clear, smart goals we discussed earlier that inherently supports mental resilience. The sheer structure of the plan can help prevent that feeling of being overwhelmed or adrift. It provides focus. However, the implicit challenge is indeed immense. You've got potential homesickness, dealing with setbacks like injuries, which are almost inevitable, or maybe not getting picked for the team. Plus, simply adapting to a new culture, maybe a new language. All of this can significantly impact performance and well-being.
Yeah. I can only imagine.
So that constant demand mentioned in the blueprint for professionalism on and off the pitch, it really means these players need to build robust coping mechanisms and extraordinary self-discipline that goes way beyond just football training. It's about maturing incredibly rapidly, both as a player and as a person, often far away from their usual support networks. It's a huge undertaking.
Okay, so assuming the player navigates that intense development phase, builds that resilience, and performs well. The next logical step in this blueprint is moving from that intense development into seeking direct exposure and actual opportunities with clubs. This takes us into what Jugador Pro labels the critical agent access, trials, and club integration phase. This is slated for roughly April to June 2026, leading up to that target contract date. This is really where all that intensive preparation, all that hard work, potentially pays off by securing an actual trial or agreement. The blueprint outlines several strategic ways to, quote, secure representation or club trials. First, there's option A, which they call the independent route. This involves a player, maybe with their family's help, directly applying to verified trials. These are often advertised online or through specific platforms, typically held in countries like Spain, Portugal, Italy, and Germany during specific trial windows.
Right, the summer trial periods usually.
Exactly. It also includes leveraging smaller, reputable agencies that specifically focus on working with lower-tier clubs, maybe in those leagues we discussed earlier. This shows that self-advocacy and proactively searching for opportunities are absolutely possible. Though I'd imagine it might be a more challenging path for a young player to navigate entirely alone, especially dealing with language barriers or just understanding the nuances of the local footballing scene in each country.
It definitely requires a lot of initiative and research.
Definitely. Then we have option B, which is often seen as the traditional and frequently the most effective route, securing representation from a FIFA-licensed agent or agency. And the emphasis here is on FIFA-licensed. These aren't just any agents. They're officially vetted and regulated by football's global governing body, FIFA, which means they have to adhere to specific ethical standards, codes of conduct, and they can legally represent players in professional contract negotiations across borders.
That licensing provides a level of security and professionalism.
Absolutely. And the value of having a professional partner like this can be immense. They have the networks, the contacts that can potentially arrange trials for you at clubs you couldn't access yourself. They can negotiate contracts, whether professional or semi-professional, on your behalf. And crucially, especially for non-EU players, they can handle the complex process of obtaining the necessary EU work visa or residency permits.
That visa part is huge.
Huge. They essentially act as your representative, advocating for you, opening doors, and handling the administrative headaches.
For a player in the 18-25 age range, trying to navigate complex contracts, transfer regulations, visa laws, it can be completely overwhelming.
Yeah.
So good professional representation can be a real game changer, allowing the player to focus purely on their performance on the pitch.
Makes sense. And finally, there's option C, which is attending specific player showcase events. These are basically organized tournaments or multi-day trials specifically designed to bring a large number of players and scouts together in one place. They offer really concentrated exposure in a short period. Our information mentions events like the Europe Summer Trials, often held in Spain, Portugal, or the Netherlands, as well as specific tournaments or showcases that might be run by organizations like Jugador Pro themselves, or Street Football is another one mentioned.
Like a combine, almost.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it like a highly competitive job fair, or maybe a series of rapid-fire job interviews packed into a few days. You absolutely need to get your foot in the door somehow. And the independent route, getting an agent or attending showcases, are presented as the different strategic ways to do it. Each probably has its own pros and cons depending on a player's specific situation, their level, and maybe the network they already have.
And looking closely at this section on securing opportunities, something that's often surprising, maybe even a bit disappointing initially for some aspiring players, is that the first step often isn't signing that full professional contract right off the bat. Jugador Pro's blueprint outlines that players might initially need to sign a trial or amateur agreement. This frequently means joining, say, a semi-pro team that has a clear pathway to promotion into the professional ranks, or maybe joining a club's U21 or B team, where you get consistent high-level training and, crucially, regular exposure to the first-team coaches and environment.
So not necessarily straight into the first-team pro contract.
Not always, no. And this raises that important question again. For a player with dreams of being a top professional, why accept these initial, seemingly lesser agreements? Why not hold out for the full pro deal?
Well, my guess would be it's about proving yourself within that specific club environment, right? It's one thing to impress in a 2-day trial, another thing to show it week in, week out in training. It's about getting eyes on you consistently, day in and day out, rather than just in that one-off trial situation.
Exactly. You've nailed it. These are the critical stepping stones. They are the entry point. For a player in that crucial 18-25 range, getting inside the club's environment, even if it's initially on an amateur agreement or a B-team contract without a huge salary, is invaluable. It's about proving yourself daily, demonstrating your commitment, your work ethic, your consistency, and your ability to adapt to the demanding European style of play, the higher tempo, the tactical discipline, the rigorous demands of a professional setup. This really implies that patience and strategic thinking are just as important as raw talent at this stage.
That makes sense. Don't rush it.
Right. Many young players, understandably, can get frustrated if they don't immediately sign a big deal or a first division contract. Impatience can set in. But this blueprint clearly shows the reality is often a multi-step process. You get your foot in the door with that initial agreement, you perform consistently, you earn the trust of the coaches and the club, and then you strategically work your way up towards that full professional contract or maybe a move to an even better situation. It's often a true meritocracy, especially at the entry levels. And these initial trial or amateur agreements are frequently the necessary entry point that allows you to demonstrate that merit within the professional ecosystem. It sets the foundation for everything that's supposed to come next according to the plan.
Okay, so we've covered the talent, the physical demands, the tactical understanding, getting the trial or initial agreement. But there's another huge piece of the puzzle. Beyond all the footballing aspects, Jugador Pro dedicates an entire phase 4, specifically to legal and visa preparedness. And this is an area where, unfortunately, many promising dreams can hit a hard bureaucratic wall if they're not handled correctly and, crucially, proactively. The blueprint makes a very clear, fundamental distinction right away between UAD citizens, European Economic Area, and non-EU citizens. For immediate EU citizens, thankfully, it's relatively straightforward in most cases. Because of EU freedom of movement laws, they can generally freely sign and play in other member countries. The administrative process is usually much simpler.
Big advantage there.
Huge advantage. But for non-EU citizens, which includes players from the Americas, Africa, Asia, Oceania, and post-Brexit UK, for example, it gets significantly more complex. And this is where that meticulous planning becomes absolutely vital. Our information details several non-EU strategies that players need to navigate. First, securing a specific work visa or potentially a sports residency permit. These are explicitly stated in the blueprint as being available in certain countries known for attracting foreign players, like Portugal, Spain, and Malta mentioned specifically. This clearly shows there are indeed specific, established, sports-related immigration pathways designed for professional or aspiring professional athletes in some key European footballing nations. You just need to know about them and qualify for them.
Right, specialties rights exist.
Exactly. Second, another potential route is obtaining a youth or student visa that's tied to enrolling in a club's academy or maybe an affiliated school or educational program. This can be an ingenious entry point, really. It cleverly combines education or formal youth development with a pathway into football. It often allows a player to legally reside, train, and sometimes even play in official youth or lower-level leagues while satisfying educational or specific visa requirements.
A smart way in for younger players sometimes.
Definitely seems like it. And third, and perhaps the most strategically beneficial for those who are eligible, is pursuing a dual nationality strategy. This means investigating if you're eligible for citizenship in an EU country, usually through parents or sometimes even grandparents who were born there.
Ancestry visas, yeah.
Right. If you can obtain an EU passport through Ancestry, it's a game changer. It effectively bypasses the majority of the complex visa hurdles entirely, putting you on par with EU citizens regarding the freedom to sign and play.
That's a massive advantage if you qualify.
Absolutely.
Right.
But it often takes time and documentation, so it needs planning well in advance. The key message here is that this legal phase is absolutely critical and cannot, under any circumstances, just be an afterthought tackled at the last minute.
And what's truly insightful, I think, is that this isn't just tacked on at the end of the blueprint. It's presented as a dedicated, distinct phase 4. That signals its immense importance in the overall strategy. If we connect this back to the bigger picture, it really highlights that succeeding in going pro in Europe isn't just about what happens on the pitch. It's also about incredibly meticulous planning off the pitch. The legal and administrative hurdles honestly can be just as challenging, if not sometimes more challenging, than the actual on-field competition, especially for non-EU players.
I can believe that. Bureaucracy can be a nightmare.
It really can. So for players and their families, especially those targeting that 18-25 age range where time feels critical, understanding these legal requirements early in the process, maybe even before seriously pursuing trials, can save immense frustration, tons of wasted time and money. And devastatingly, it can prevent missed opportunities later down the line. Just imagine. Picture a talented young player who spends years honing their skills, travels across the world, gets a fantastic trial offer from a great club.
The dream scenario.
The dream scenario, only to realize too late that they can't secure the right type of visa in time before the transfer window closes, or that the application process will take months longer than the trial window allows. That dream can literally evaporate in an instant, purely due to bureaucracy and lack of preparedness.
Heartbreaking.
Absolutely. It's such a critical piece of the puzzle, and it often gets overlooked until it becomes an urgent, possibly insurmountable problem. So this raises that really important practical question for anyone listening who's considering this path or supporting someone who is. Have you actually checked your eligibility? Have you proactively explored all the potential avenues for legal entry and the right to work or play in your target European country? Because, frankly, without that foundational legal preparedness, all the talent and all the dedicated training in the world won't get you onto the pitch legally in a professional European setting. It's non-negotiable.
Okay, so assuming the legal hurdles are cleared, the players in Europe, they've impressed on trial or in their initial setup, we finally arrive at the ultimate goal, according to Jugador Pro's blueprint. This is Phase 5, pro contract and club growth. This phase officially begins around mid-2026 in their timeline, but really it extends indefinitely beyond that. And the key point here is that getting that first contract isn't the end of the journey. It's truly a new, and in many ways, even more demanding beginning. Once you're officially with a team, whether it's on that initial amateur agreement, a semi-pro deal, or an entry-level professional contract, the blueprint really emphasizes what it takes to earn the pro deal. Meaning securing that full, more stable, potentially more lucrative professional contract, or solidifying your place in the squad and earning an even better one down the line. And how do you do that? Well, the blueprint stresses that it's all about unwavering consistency and professionalism, both on and off the pitch, 24/7. This means showing up on time, every time, being disciplined in every aspect of your life, your sleep, your diet, your recovery routine, meticulously maintaining your fitness and condition.
No shortcuts.
None. You need to train with absolute intent every single day, approaching every drill, every gym session, every tactical meeting as a critical opportunity to improve yourself and impress the coaching staff. Being coachable is also highlighted as paramount. That means actively listening to feedback, even critical feedback, genuinely trying to adapt your game based on instructions, and showing a real willingness to learn from the coaches and also from more experienced players around you.
Humility is important there.
Absolutely. And of course, ultimately, you have to deliver in matches. Performance on game day is the bottom line, isn't it? You need to show up when it counts, perform consistently, and contribute positively to the team's success. And one final, very practical point the blueprint advises here: consistently securing video footage of your performance. This is presented as key for career longevity and your next steps. Why? Because clubs are constantly scouting for new talent or tracking player progress.
Always looking.
Always looking. And having a recent comprehensive video portfolio, not just highlights, but full match footage showing your contributions, is absolutely essential for your marketability as your career progresses. Agents need it, potential new clubs need it.
Your digital profile evolves.
Exactly. It's a living document.
Yeah.
So for players in that 18-25 range, the message is clear. Every training session, every reserve game, every first-team appearance is an ongoing audition. It's not just about keeping your current contract, but constantly working towards your next one, whether that's a better deal with the same club or attracting interest from a new club, potentially at an even higher level.
Yeah, the blueprint really emphasizes that getting that first professional deal, as significant as it feels, is not the final destination. It's explicitly framed as the foundational first step in a much longer strategic career build. Jugador Pro actually advises players to think in terms of a clear 3 to 5 year roadmap after they've secured that initial contract. This truly emphasizes the kind of long-term thinking and ambition required in professional football. It's not just about making it, it's about staying there and progressing.
So what does that roadmap look like, typically?
Well, the blueprint lays out some potential ambitious milestones. For example, 2026 is when you sign that initial pro contract, achieving the primary goal. Then maybe 2027, 2028 are dedicated to establishing yourself within that club. That implies performing consistently, becoming a regular starter, or maybe becoming a key player, and generally finding a good, stable environment where you can continue to develop without the constant pressure of just trying to survive.
Building a foundation at that pro level.
Precisely. Then the ambition outlined is to potentially, strategically, make a move by 2029, perhaps to a top club in a strong second-tier league in a major country, or maybe even making the jump directly into a first division team. This isn't presented as just a hopeful dream. It's framed as a calculated climb up the professional ladder, always aiming for higher levels of competition, better resources, significantly increased exposure, which then opens doors for even bigger future opportunities, better contracts, international recognition, etc. So for our 18 to 25-year-old focus group, this phase 5 is really all about how you turn that initial breakthrough, that first contract, into a sustainable, growing, and increasingly successful long-term career. It's about longevity, it's about continuous improvement, never getting complacent, and always looking ahead for the next challenge to maximize your potential, both as a player on the pitch and as a professional off it. And this raises, I think, a really important final question for any aspiring professional listening. Once you've actually achieved your initial dream, once you've signed that professional contract, how will you continue to evolve? Not just as a player, technically and tactically, but as a person, as a professional. Because the journey certainly doesn't end there. In so many ways, the real challenge truly begins.
Wow. We have just navigated a truly remarkable blueprint from Jugador Pro, a detailed plan for becoming a professional soccer player in Europe. And we've really tried to highlight the specific journey for those in that pivotal 1825 age window, from those incredibly detailed player audits and finding the right elite development environments, all the way through to securing critical representation, managing those complex legalities, and finally building that strategic career plan for long-term growth. It's just abundantly clear that success in this highly competitive arena is about far more than just having raw talent. It really is about meticulous planning, isn't it? Unwavering dedication day after day, and understanding every single facet of the game, both what happens on the pitch and everything that surrounds it off the pitch. It's a real testament, I think, to the fact that turning that dream of playing pro into an actual career requires a truly holistic, all-encompassing 24/7 approach. So considering this whole comprehensive roadmap we've discussed, here's something to think about. If you had to choose just one non-playing skill,
Something like, say, financial literacy to manage potential earnings, or maybe foreign language proficiency to integrate better, or perhaps advanced sports psychology techniques to handle pressure. Which one of those non-playing skills do you think would be the most crucial for a young player, maybe 18, 19, 20 years old, to master before they even secure their first professional contract? Which one would truly set them up best for sustained success, navigating everything that comes with being a pro in Europe? Definitely something to mull over as you think about this incredibly demanding but potentially incredibly rewarding path.
Yeah, that's a great question to ponder. And what's truly illuminating from this entire blueprint, I feel, is that it serves as such a powerful reminder that while, yes, raw talent might get you noticed, might open the door to a trial or an initial opportunity, it's ultimately the preparation, the resilience, the strategic thinking, the adaptability, and that relentless discipline we talked about that's what allows you to actually walk through that door, stay inside, and then build a lasting, impactful career over many years. The world of professional soccer is just incredibly competitive, ruthless at times, and this level of detail, this foresight, this holistic planning laid out by Jugador Pro, that's ultimately what separates the many talented dreamers from the much smaller number of dedicated doers who actually achieve and sustain their professional goals. So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the things that intrigue you.